Hello, everyone, and welcome to another SDGC review. It's me, John, and today I've got my good buddies Derek.
Hi.
And Finn.
Sup.
And we are going to be talking about Visions of Mana. Thank you to Square Enix for the chance to review this. I've been playing it for about a week now. I am 30 hours into the game. Full disclosure, I'm not quite done yet. I think I'm wrapping things up. It's a big game.
So short of the ending falling off a cliff, you've pretty much got your thoughts put together.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel very confident delivering a verdict on this one. And right off the bat, bottom line up front, this is the best Mana game.
Quick question. So I know we mentioned we got a review code in advance from Square Enix. What platform did you play on?
Right. So I've been playing it on PC.
Okay.
I've been playing it on Steam. I have played it primarily on my powerful PC. I've also been playing some on the Steam Deck.
Okay,
played a few hours on the Steam Deck.
I was going to ask, is if you'd played any on
Steam
Steam
I
Deck.
wanted to be able to, and I've got some very positive stuff to report about how it runs on the Steam Deck compared to the demo.
Well, let's talk. But before we get real in here, so let's talk about each of our familiarity with the franchise, because John and Finn, I think both of you are longtime fans of the Mana franchise.
Yes. Facts.
Yeah, and then I played Secret of Mana once and had a good time, but I've never really pursued the series. I'm just here as an RPG nut who is theoretically should be part of the target audience for this game, right? Because Square is going to need, especially with the budget they appear to have put into this game, they're going to need more than just Mana series diehards to pick this up.
Right.
Which I think they will.
I hope they do. I really, really want this to sell well, because after seeing how serious Square has taken this new entry in the Mana franchise, the first mainline game in the franchise since 2006, by the way.
God, that's crazy.
I really need. I need more of this. I need more of this. From top to bottom, left to right, diagonally, this game sings all across the board. If you've played Finn, you played the Trials of Mana remake, right?
I sure did. I've played all of them.
Okay, so the game feel is a lot like that, but Square Enix went, what if we gave it triple the budget?
What if we gave it sauce?
This game.
Well, speaking, if you're comparing it to that, are there any characters whose voice acting makes you just want to hit mute?
No, they're not.
That's literally all I care about.
I'm going to get to that though. So right off the bat, this is the most beautiful game I've played this year.
From an outsider's perspective, just the footage I've seen of trailers and, seeing a little bit of a behind closed doors presentation earlier, man, what a gorgeous game.
It is truly a sight to behold. As I'm playing it on my PC at 4K at 90 frames a second, and boy, let me tell you, there are some vistas in this game where I just had to kind of stop and take it all in and take some screenshots. Derek, the ray tracing in this game is it's so good. The character designs are very on point, very Mana-esque. If you're familiar with the franchise at all, you know what that means. Even the older character, even the middle-aged men with gray beards look young. Everybody looks like a child in the Mana franchise.
Well, it's a very storybook kind of art style in a
very
lot of
much
ways.
so. Very much so. But man, oh man, is this one pretty game. And it runs really well too. It's not on the level of, say, a Final Fantasy 16. But it is. But this is a completely different visual style.
Right. I was going to say, they're going for a different look. This has that very stylized but consistent and clean.
It's like a storybook
aesthetic.
It's like a fairy tale.
Right. There's lots of rich pastels and.
Exactly. Well, in the Mana franchise, and Finn can probably extrapolate on this as well. The Mana franchise has always really leaned into those storybook tropes. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Those fairy tale idea, like tropes. Finn, do you want to compound on that a little bit?
I mean, No, I don't.
Okay,
It's just
well,
it's
then
always
don't.
been more like, I mean, storybooky is a good way to put it. Like where Final Fantasy leans more towards kind of like, as time went on, more gritty, I guess, for
Yeah.
lack of a better word. But
Oh, this is not gritty
the
at all.
the Mana series always feels more just kind of like, I don't want to say pure, but yeah, storybooky. Like it's just like whatever that
It's kind of more earnest fantasy, right?
get,
with
yeah,
with
that's a
fantasy
good way to put it,
races
but I
and
feel
weird
like
critters and
storybooky kind of puts a vibe in your head, and that's what it is.
okay.
Like
Right.
Saturday morning cartoons. If the cartoon was like a person was reading a nighttime tale and they open the book and everything pops out of the book. That's what this is.
Like
The colors are
essentially-
vibrant. It's all
Right.
very cheerful, even if the story tries to go into more like non-cheerful things. But I mean, it's never, again, even the plot, I can't speak to this one, but the Mana series as a whole, like the plot never gets depressing
Yeah.
in a Mana
Characters
game.
have big
Like,
big like
there are
colorful personalities.
stakes. Yeah, there are stakes in these games.
Sure.
But you never are gonna get like soul crushed. You're not gonna have your Aerith moment. You know what I mean? I guess is what
Yeah.
I'm trying
No,
to say.
not in these. Not in the Mana
That's
franchise.
not what Mana is
And-
about.
Well,
That's not
and
what
like
Mana's about.
I'll tell you right now, I know people are going to criticize this game for, and I guarantee I'm gonna quote somebody verbatim for not innovating enough, right? I don't think like
I
it's
can see
Mana. It doesn't need to reinvent the wheel. It needs to give me a fun, beautiful, colorful world with solid combat and a fairy tale style atmosphere where I'm a plucky youth going to save the world.
So,
that's every
with a
game. That's
sprite
literally
and a
every
lady.
game.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah,
need a sprite.
that's
and a
literally
lady.
every game in the Mana franchise, and this fucking nails it.
And it it's the same way that a Final Fantasy game needs to have an Ifrit and a Shiva and
Yes.
a Bahamut. Like we need a gnome, we need a sylph, we need an Undine,
We need a Salamando.
You know, like that's like we need our Mana elementals.
Oh, and so Finn, there are, and I'm not going to give away any of them, but especially if you are a fan of Secret of Mana, there's a lot of references here that are gonna get a big smile out of you.
So the idea that like this is something that is very maybe for lack of a better term, like stock in its like tropes and its approaches, right? And isn't like trying to be something wholly original and unique. Like that to me is not necessarily a bad thing. I think one of the best RPGs to come out in recent memory is Dragon Quest XI, right? And Dragon Quest XI is like the most by the books you can get in a lot of ways for a Dragon Quest game, but it's the execution of it is so good. And that's kind of when I look at Visions of Mana and what I've seen of it, I feel like I'm not coming in for something that reinvents the wheel. I'm here for something that is taking the ideas of this series of action RPGs and really distilling it to its core concepts and trying to hit those as well as it can. Is that about right?
It is. And there is actually something that Visions of Mana does do that no other Mana game has done. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention it. There is a very cool evolution of the Mana gameplay here. And it's that for the first time to my knowledge, and like I've played almost all of the Mana games multiple times in many cases. For the first time, you can actually utilize, in fact, you have to utilize the various elementals outside of combat to solve puzzles and to access new areas of whatever map you're in. So it's almost like, it's not quite of Metroidvania style, but there are plenty of opportunities to go back and use the different elementals outside of combat to reach areas that you couldn't before. Like, for example, Dryad, which is the elemental of wood in the Mana franchise, has the ability to grow large vines that can stretch you across long distances. Undine, who is the element of water, can create big bubbles of water that can float you up, and there's a big line of them, and you chain yourself up to like a huge cliff, and you reach a new area with new treasures and enemies up there. So there's a lot of room for customization. Not customization, but I'm trying to think of
Well,
I'm
the
kinda lost
class
on the word I
system
wanna use.
does
It's
have
fine.
a lot of
It's fine.
room.
In the meantime,
Yeah,
I'll
that's
break your brain real quick. Dryad,
Yeah,
element
please
of
do.
wood, more like element of wood. Am I right?
Shut the fuck up.
WOULD.
I really, really hate you right now.
I love you,
Yeah,
Finn.
well,
Never change.
I just
But yeah,
saved you
like-
from
Yeah, no, Finn. Finn, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the first time in the entire Mana franchise where the elementals have been used in that sort of manner outside of just
Correct.
being things that you summon in combat. And they give
Are you trying to say in
yeah.
that sort of mana?
No, that's not what I'm trying to say at all, Finn.
Oh, okay. Well,
Here we
that's
are.
what I heard.
And yet
No,
here
but
we
you're
are
right.
in the
Like
upside down world.
they made them part of the gameplay, not just a part of the combat.
Exactly. And it's really cool. It's really cool. And it gives you a kind of an excuse to go back to areas that you've been in before and look for new things to do. And the maps in this game are enormous, by the way. This is a big game. You do get mounts to run around on called picouls, and they're basically
adorable.
they're like a cross
They're-
between
They're pretty
a corgi
cool.
and a fox. Yeah, that's about that's how I would describe them, as like a corgi and a fox smashed together. But I got to be honest with you, the world itself was so beautiful that I found myself not really using them that much because I just loved immersing myself in that world. I loved running through the hills and the forests, and you know, combat in this game is really, really fun. It's sublime. Again, it's not like, you know, it's not Devil May Cry, but it doesn't need to be. It's snappy, it's fun, it does what it needs to do. It's got that classic ring menu, of course, that the Mana franchise is known for. You can also map attacks to different buttons and, like, you know, press the trigger or hold it down and then hit X or Y or whatever. But if you're playing a Mana game and you're not using the ring system, Finn, I think you'll agree you're not really playing a Mana game.
Right.
So yeah, I absolutely encourage people to use the ring menu system because it just makes it feel even more Mana. All the stuff that you expect is there, from characters like Niccolo, who is a recurring character in the Mana franchise, to Trent, to the Dud Bears, even status effects like Moogle are and in case anybody
Wait,
didn't know,
Moogle?
yeah,
What?
no, so oh no, no, so the Moogle status was a thing in Secret of Mana.
I don't
where
remember
you get
that.
turned into-
Wow. I mean,
Yeah,
it's been
where
a
you get-
long
yeah.
time, so.
Well, I mean, you got to remember the Mana franchise started out as Final Fantasy Legend. So there's a lot of Final Fantasy's DNA. I mean, there are chocobos in some of the Mana games. So
Yeah.
a lot of Final Fantasy DNA. But yes, you can. The Moogle status affliction is back, which is really fun. The really annoying frozen status affliction is back, Finn, where you
Hate
get turned
that
into
one.
a snowman.
Here, while he talks, Derek, I'm gonna send you the picture of it so you can see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Check out chat. There you go. Top
Yeah.
of the thing. Moogle
I
stuff.
do kind of remember
Yeah,
that.
Moogle status, baby.
I've never connected it because it's been, I mean, I was a kid, so, Huh.
There are other things that will take you right back to Secret of Mana. I'm not going to spoil those here because I want people to experience them organically on their own. Like I said, I'm about 30 hours into the game. I have not once not had a smile on my face playing this. This is Visions of Mana. When it was first announced, I mean, Derek, you remember my reaction. We
Oh,
were
yeah.
streaming,
It's actually
the Game
funny.
Awards
I'm the
live.
non-Mana series fan, and I clocked it before you did.
You did. And I have been eagerly anticipating this for the better part of, God, what,
Can
8 months
confirm.
Yeah.
now? This was my most anticipated game of 2024. And unless the ending just completely collapses out from underneath itself, which I don't anticipate, this has been pure distilled joy from beginning to end. I cannot stress enough my belief that this is the best Mana game. It is easy to get into. It's a joy to play. It's a joy to look at. The one thing, and no, nothing's perfect, and I will say that the one thing that I thought was disappointing was the music. It's not bad, But Finn, you especially know, like, the Mana franchise has some real bangers like Meridian Dance, and High Tension Wire, some really really great musical tracks. Yeah, Prophecy from Secret of Mana. I I I could not remember. I don't really have a single tune from my 30 hours stuck in my head. It's not bad, but it's not memorable by any stretch of the imagination. It's just kind of there. It's in the background. The boss themes, some of the overworld themes, like I would just say they're fine. They're fine. I don't know who did the music, and so like I don't want to sit here and shit on the composer. That's not my goal here. But
It just
I
didn't
found
hit
the
you
music
the way you were
especially
hoping it would.
well, not only that, Derek, but like especially when you're presented with this just sumptuous fucking world to immerse yourself in. Like I was expecting a lot more from the soundtrack that goes with it, and it just kind of never really materialized. Like, for example, I'm 30 hours in. I have not once heard the Mana franchise theme, Finn. Not once.
They're gonna. It's
Really?
because it's gonna be a leitmotif right at the end. Watch.
Probably that's what I'm guessing. But I'm like, okay, this is it. They're gonna play it because there are a few interesting twists and turns in the story here. And I thought I had the story pegged at one point, and it turns out, I was fucking wrong about that. But I kept expecting some of those old Mana tunes to show up, especially given how many references there are to the older games like Trials and Secret, but nothing ever really materialized. So I'm hoping that changes by the time I finish the game. That being said, that is one very small negative in just an absolute soup of positives.
So
And soup is a good way to describe what this is and what the Mana franchise is altogether. It's just a warm bowl of RPG soup.
I have a question
I'll
for
take
you.
that.
Delicious.
Because you've spoken a lot, like from the perspective of somebody who is a lifelong fan. Like you're doing a lot of comparing against earlier Mana games, and
Yes.
I hear your passion, but I'm not somebody who's connected to this franchise that way, right? So like putting aside your nostalgia, putting aside like the weight of this being the first Mana game in 16 years or 18
Yeah, like
years.
give it to us from the perspective of someone that.
Well, from
did-
my
like,
perspective,
you-
right? I mean,
well, you could not even that because you still have played a Mana game before, but
sure.
Square, you can definitely tell like this one's being positioned to be the people's first Mana game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like realistically, this is going to be a lot of people's first Mana game.
So I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you guys brought that up. The first Secret of Mana back in 1993, I was 13 years old when I played it. Secret of Mana was the first game I ever stayed up all night playing, like literally until the sun was coming through my window. It was a Saturday night, and I finished
We're
it.
not beating the
that
nostalgia allegations here.
Hold on. Wait.
When have I ever been good at waiting?
And that was burned into my brain, right? Like that was a very very pivotal moment for me as a kid and as a gamer. That is exactly the feeling that Visions of Mana is going for. I can see some kid who's dipping their toe into the Mana franchise for the first time, staying up till 6 a.m, just gasping at how cool this game is. If you haven't played any of the Mana games, in fact, this would be the way that I would recommend you dip your toe into that franchise. And then go back and play some of the older games and see where a lot of the stuff comes from, where a lot of the stuff originated from. It's like somebody who's, hey, how do I get into Final Fantasy? Well, play some of the newer games and then go back and play some of the older ones. That's exactly how I would recommend you do this here. Visions of Mana is going to be the starting point for a lot. I mean, let's face it, the majority of people's interest in the Mana franchise. And so they had to come out of the gate with something really, really strong, really, that looks good, plays good. And they got it. They absolutely fucking nailed it. if you're gonna play a mana game, start with this one, and then go back and experience some of those older games. But this is tailor made for people with, you know, not just nostalgia, because there's a lot of nostalgia here, but this is also tailor made for people who have no experience with the franchise whatsoever. You could go either one. You could go. I mean, this is for everyone. This is a game that is not meant, because when I say like that, this game references older games. It's not in like it's not in a way where, like, you know, you have to play one game to be super familiar with what's happening here.
I mean, I think the reality is
it's like terms and name drops and stuff like that, where like if you have the nostalgic context for them, that's great. But if you don't, it doesn't matter.
Gotcha. I was gonna say,
that make sense?
The reality is that a lot of times people overthink like connections to famous older pieces of media, right? The greatest trick the MCU ever pulled was telling people they had to watch everything in the MCU to watch the next thing, when that's never been the case. And like, I think people often, like, there's going to be articles that get written when this comes out that's like, where to start with the Mana franchise, and like all of the things you need to do before you play Visions of Mana. And I'm going to bet that somebody can probably just pick up Visions of Mana and play it and have a very fulfilling experience.
Yes, you absolutely can. And honestly, those are the people that Square needs. You know, like those are the people that Square needs to pick and buy this. This was like, I was predetermined to love this because it's a mana game and it's great. Finn, I guarantee you, was going to eat this up. I would be far more interested. Like people who love mana are going to love this. I have absolutely zero doubt about that. What I'm curious about are people like you, Derek, who's only played Secret of Mana, or people who have no familiarity with the franchise at all. Those are the people that Square needs to convince. And I think that they can convince them. I think this is an excellent game. I just need other people to see it, because I really need another I really need another Mana game with this kind of love and attention and care and budget, Square. I need another one.
So the funny thing is, I would be inclined to rag about how, like you said, you were kind of almost guaranteed from the beginning to love this game. But here's the thing. I can't actually say that you're being super biased, because I know a bunch of people. I mean, I was right there beside you for that behind closed doors demonstration. I've seen a lot of the gameplay footage, right? I've played the demo. A bunch of people played the demo, and we watched as tons of people played that demo when it first came out, which is what we're going to use a lot of footage of right now, just to not, use anything that would be under embargo. But like, people lost their minds when they got their hands on this demo. So like, I think the vibe, like
I think dropping the demo was very smart.
Yes, the buzz is already out there that this is something special. So you coming in and kind of confirming that carries through does not feel too surprising.
Something, and you know what? There's one more thing that I want to mention, Derek, and because you brought up the demo, thank you for reminding me. The demo did not look great or run all that well on the Steam Deck. It just didn't, right? I can happily report that is not the case here. So
yeah, I mean, it sounds like from your experience, the PC port is pretty good.
It not only is it really so it is really, really good. The one of the big problems on the Steam Deck for the Visions of Mana demo was that the UI had no upscaling whatsoever. So it was an absolute nightmare to try to read any of the text. Derek, the text had that really blurry, jagged thing going on.
Yeah.
Because there was no UI upscaling. It was also super soft. It was choppy. All of those problems have been addressed.
Yeah.
I ran the game on my Steam Deck at, I want to say it was 1200 by 800. Whatever that resolution. I'm not sure what you would call that. Like, was it 800p, Derek? I don't know what you call that resolution. Yeah. And what I did was I set my refresh. So I'm not somebody who likes wildly fluctuating frame rates. So what I did is I set my the refresh rate of my Steam Deck screen to 40 hertz. I capped the frame rate at 40. I turned FSR on to balance.
I'm fully phasing out of this conversation at this point. I love you, man, but Be
what I'll say
None
is
of that
this.
means anything to me.
Yeah.
None of that means
running
anything.
I'm hold on. What all this means is that the game runs at a nice crisp 40 frames a second on the Steam Deck, which if you're playing that on a TV, 40 frames is fine. When you're playing it on a handheld, it's great. Because you're playing it on a smaller screen. I capped the frame rate at 40 frames a second, and I played the game with super resolution turned on, and it was great. I'm gonna play it. That's the way I'm gonna play it tonight. I'm gonna play it in bed. So if you want to play this on your Steam Deck, it is a much better experience than the demo was, and it's a completely viable way to play this.
Cool. Well, and here's the thing. If the PC port is as good as you say it is, then I would be willing to bet that the console ports will also be good. Is this hitting Xbox?
I would imagine so.
I know it's on
Yes.
PlayStation. I didn't know if it was on Xbox.
Is it, Finn?
Yes.
I'm not. It
Yes.
is? I hope so. Okay, good. It is. Okay. Well, that's great because this is one of those games that everybody should have a chance to play on their platform of choice. I love it. I love everything about this game. When I'm not playing it, thinking about it. I was thinking about it at work today, and I cannot wait. I should be able to finish it up either tonight or tomorrow night, and I cannot wait to see how this ends. But after 30 hours, I almost said 30 minutes. After 30 hours,
The guys, after 30 minutes of
Visions
gameplay, I think I got this figured out.
I know, yeah, I got this one pegged. After 30 hours of playing this, I am comfortable in saying that this is the peak of the Mana franchise. An excellent new game by Square, and hopefully something that will kickstart an entire new legacy of Mana games. So that is my hope here, and I think all the ingredients are there. I think at this point people just need to buy it. People need to check this out. It's amazing. I love it. Thank you, Square, for letting me review this. I've had an absolute blast the past week.
I also
Heck yeah.
I also want to add that, like, one of the things, this is kind of less about maybe like Visions of Mana specifically, but I think is, to me, the part of the conversation that I can't fully divorce from the game is this feels like it's maybe the biggest budget that Square has given a game that is not called Final Fantasy or Kingdom Hearts in a very long time.
It kind of feels that way.
And I need to see more of that, right? Like, I
Yep,
obviously
I would love
want
that.
for you and potentially, and for Finn and potentially for me and for all these other folks, like, more Mana. But really what I hope this kind of signals is that Square is willing to start putting some real money into games that aren't Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts, because it's kind of felt like
Put this kind of
like
Yeah.
Final Fantasy and like big Final Fantasy games and Kingdom Hearts get like all of the money in the world, like unfeasible amounts of money that they just cannot make back, and then everything else gets the couch change. And we've got to find
put
some
this kind of money into a
equilibrium.
front mission game, Square. Put it into a front mission game.
Maybe, you know.
Yeah, but
yeah,
no. This feels like a massive return to form for the Mana franchise, and it gives me hope for the future for what Square is willing to pour some serious money into. But yeah, dude, guys, that's my review. Visions of Mana. If we gave scores, I'd give it a 10 out of 10. It's amazing.
you would. Finn, what kind of questions you got at this point?
I mean, I got to play the demo at PAX East, and I played this demo, so I kind of already came in knowing that I'm probably going to enjoy the heck out of this. So I don't really have any questions. I was just here along for the ride.
Yeah,
You just wanted to hear the
I like
gushing.
having you along for the ride.
Yeah, it's just nice to know. It was more just the validation, right? Like, it's a demo can be good because it's a vertical slice. It could be curated to not really represent the final experience. So it's just nice to know that from someone that's dropped so much time into it, that it is in fact indicative of the quality that I've already enjoyed from it. So hell yeah.
Yeah, no. If anybody worried whether or not they would drop the ball on this one, they didn't. They nailed it. No need to worry.
All right, rocking. Well, I mean, that sounds like that's what we got.
No,
Wait.
that's it. That's what I got, man.
All right. Well, play us out, my man.
All right. Well, guys, thank you for hanging out with us for about half an hour while I absolutely gush about Visions of Mana. By the time you guys listen to this, we'll be getting ready to go to PAX. So if you see us there, come up and say hi, give us a hug. Derek's going, Finn's going, I'm going, Britt's going. Jeff will be there for a night. Derek,
2 nights, 1 day. So
2 nights. What? Yep. Okay, yeah, that's accurate. So yeah. Come see us if you see us, or come say hi if you see us. And aside from that, we will be back on our regular schedule after PAX, and I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about. So guys, take care of each other. Thank you again to Square Enix for the opportunity to review Visions of Mana. We greatly appreciate it, and we appreciate everybody who took the time to listen to us. So take care of each other. Remember, kindness costs nothing. We'll see you next time.